Goals are great and easy to track, but how do you go about losing 10 pounds? It's easy enough to write. So in habits, we write things like 10K step, 10,000 steps a day. What I do is I review this daily, a bare minimum. First thing I review in the beginning of the morning before I start the day. Sometimes I'll review it again in the evening if there was something on there. Get those maps created on Google Sheets or whatever the best method is. Review it daily, create those habits, and put those habits directly on the calendar and really set yourself up for success.
Welcome to the Franchise Freedom Podcast, where you can escape the corporate trap through franchise ownership. Here's your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, the Franchise Guide.
Welcome to the Franchise Freedom Podcast. I'm your host, Giuseppe Grammatico, your franchise guide. We have a very exciting episode today. We are going to be covering 2024 kind of year-end review and 2025 planning. So wanted to record this episode as we do every year to really take a step back and review the year, review goals, and I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like on my end and how I'm able to kind of keep track of things and plan for the year. So before we dive in today, just a reminder, if you have any questions, want to explore franchising as the year winds down, have some time off for the holidays, feel free. I'm going to put the website right here on the screen, GG, my initials, thefranchiseguide.com. You can go right there. There's going to be a button there. You can book a call. There's going to be a series of questions asking you about your current situation and allowing you to book a call afterwards. So ggthefranchiseguide.com. Take a look. We also, quick little promo, have a copy of the book Franchise Freedom that I wrote back a few years ago. Get your free copy today. This is a great quick read. It's about 25, 30-minute read, and it goes through the process of selecting a franchise and a few other really helpful tips regarding starting your own business. So definitely take me up on that offer. So 2024, what I do every year is I take a look at my goals. Did we hit the goals? Did we make progress? How do we track it all? So wanted to do a few things today. So number one, we call it a MAP, a massive action plan from Tony Robbins. And I laid it all out because I wanted to, in order to really keep things updated and to be able to follow it, you want to keep things simple. So I'm going to share my screen here to show you exactly what I've set up on my end here. So let's do that now. All right. So I know if you're listening in, obviously, you definitely want to watch the video, or if you decide to set up a call with me, we can go over this. So what I like to do is in my massive action plan every year, I'd like to set up goals. So you'll see here, there's key categories here, and this is how I break it down. Feel free to break it down, whatever works for you. So family, that's a category, financials, health, house, and business. Those are the areas. And then what I do is I put a goal, and I entered a quick little example here. And this I find helpful. Number one, Google Sheets is what I use because now I can access it on my desktop. It's live. I can view it on my phone. I can share it with a fellow colleague of mine, friend, family member, and they're able to review it. They can make edits. They can jot notes, and it tells you exactly who made the change in the notes. But with goal, I put here, lose 10 pounds. I'm making this stuff up, right? Just for example. And what I found was reading the book, Atomic Habits. Goals are great and easy to track, but how do you go about losing 10 pounds? It's easy enough to write. So in habits, we write things like 10K step, 10,000 steps a day. We write things like intermittent fasting. And what I do is to take it up, kind of the next step is entering this and time blocking, right on the Google Calendar. So on the calendar, just say 10,000 steps takes you an hour, or, it's 2 hours, you block it out, 9 to 10 a.m., 5,000 steps or 1 hour of walking, depending on the speed. And then you do it again later in the evening. So that way it's almost like setting up a phone call. You won't miss a phone call, and you won't miss walking if it's scheduled on the calendar. So intermittent fasting, that's done throughout the day. Those are reminders. Maybe it's a task or a follow-up daily, but by entering in the calendar, which is why I wrote Google Calendar, and why for yes, it's just a reminder. saying, okay, I got the goal. These are the habits, and then actually putting it on the calendar, holding me accountable. So I found this super helpful. So again, massive action plan. We'll have a link there from Tony Robbins that goes into more specifics. You can set this up. It could be 10 categories. It could be two categories, but you definitely want a few there so you can break it up and not throw everything in the same category. Financials, maybe, max out my retirement, pay off the home, whatever the case may be. And then you got, again, the habit, and that habit may be to set aside, 10% of my net income towards retirement, 1% towards paying off the home. You break it down, easy increments. And what I do is I review this daily, a bare minimum. First thing I review in the beginning of the morning before I start the day. Sometimes I'll review it again in the evening if there was something on there. So something very basic. I check it off. If I don't hit the goal, I look back for the 2024 review. I hit most of them, but there were a few things I didn't hit. So I go back and tweak and say, okay, was the goal too aggressive, or were the habits just not specific enough? Were they not, added to the calendar? So I found this really, really helpful. Did a talk on this a while back to a group of fellow colleagues, and definitely if you need assistance in this area, more than glad to help. So let me know if I can help in any way. So I'm going to close out this screen here, and you got me. So, the other thing is, so you have the map, you have the goals, the habits, and the time blocking. So now you have this plan that you can follow on a daily basis. So the other thing is, really taking a step back to see what was most important. So, obviously, yes, all these things are great, and to-dos and financials, but ultimately, the personal stuff, the family time, the travel, for me, spending as much time with family as possible, and putting those rocks on the calendar. We're going to be away. The kids are off for spring break. Putting that week out is just not available, out of office, busy. Whatever calendar you use in Google Calendar, it's going to be essentially busy, so that no one can book a call or a meeting with me for that week. So I find that super helpful. I even tag it. We have a shared family calendar, which is the color green, and all the members in the family can see it. They know that we're going to be traveling. Maybe we don't know exactly where, but we know that we're taking those 7 days off, and maybe mom and dad aren't working, and that we're going to do something fun that week. So the important stuff, I always urge you to do that. If you have dates ahead of time, start booking out for 2025. And then you're going to keep that calendar up to date. So daily, weekly, updating the calendar, any additional events or ideas you have. For us, we're looking at colleges for our oldest son. So maybe it's a long weekend. It's taking a Friday off, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to go look at colleges. So those are things we'll put on the calendar. And if things change, then you obviously you just delete it. But by marking yourself busy, people that are trying to set up meetings with you know not to book on those specific days. So the rocks, as I call them, are super important. And then I talk about this in my book, is talking with your advisors, your team. So in the book, we talk about your team. It could be your financial advisor, your accountant, your attorney. I just got off the phone with our financial advisor earlier this morning, and we're speaking with the accountant next week. And it's doing a year-end review. Where are you at? Did you pay your quarterly estimates if you own a business, or, a 1099 contractor? Let's review financial investment performance. Do we have to make any tweaks? So I like to meet with them at bare minimum every 6 weeks, but checking in with your team, any legal that needs to be reviewed. Maybe that's strategic planning, estate planning, I should say, where the will needs to be reviewed. Starting a new business, maybe an LLC needs to be created. Having those conversations every 6 months, I think, is super helpful and should be part of that review. And I put those on the calendar as a reminder every 6 months. And what I started doing was, just to keep everything on the calendar, had a conversation with with my financial advisor today, and we just scheduled the next call. So instead of keeping that reminder, then emailing the assistant, and then really pushing it out, this automatically puts it on the calendar. And if we have to change it, no problem. But I block out an hour. Usually our calls go 30 minutes, and that extra 30 minutes is to take notes, maybe to implement some of the changes that we've discussed. Maybe it's a follow-up. Maybe I need to send information. but it gives me that 30-minute buffer before the next call, which is also something I talked about on a previous episode, giving yourself that buffer, those action items, because then you start to get this long list that you're writing down, not getting to that list, getting super behind. So I think, give yourself that extra time, 30 minutes for the call, 30 minutes action items, follow up. I do that with our marketing team. We meet every Tuesday at, I believe, at 12 p.m., 12 to 1. And I always book a half hour out, any follow up items, marketing ideas, podcasts to send over, changes, approvals of social media. I do all that while it's fresh in my mind. I read somewhere that every time you change tasks or do things, it's not just like, okay, well, I'm going to take 15 minutes on this new task. Well, then it takes your mind a while to get back into the financial mode if you're reviewing financials. So that 15 minutes turns into 30 or 45 minutes. So trying to, chunk things, be in the state of mind of marketing, well, run with it as long as you can. You'll be a lot more efficient and I get a lot more done. So I hope this was helpful. The key aha moment for me in doing all this is, number one, writing it down and reviewing it daily. It's, subconsciously, I don't know the science behind it, but just being top of mind and reminding you and saying, wow, I have this audacious goal that I want to, lose 10 pounds by the end of the year. And subconsciously that reminder really helps. But ultimately, giving yourself that map, giving yourself that action plan, those habits that you need to do daily. So, we just touched on it, 10,000 steps and intermittent fasting, but you can get into more specifics. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, it's 30 minutes of strength training. Maybe it's, eating certain foods throughout the day. You can get as specific as you'd like. And the more you get comfortable with that, the more you can start adding, getting a little bit more detail, and then adding everything on those calendars. So I hope you found this helpful. Any questions on that, definitely take a look. The book is free unless you want to purchase that on Amazon, Franchise Freedom. And it's going to talk about the team that you can build. And that team, there may be multiple attorneys depending on the group. It may include your franchise consultant and coach like myself. So that team is not limited to 3 people. You definitely can expand that team. And one thing I didn't mention that I talk about in the book is make sure that when you form that team, and sometimes it takes a little while. It took us multiple years to find the right team. You want to make sure that team talks to one another. That seemed to be the missing piece to all this is, well, if the LLC is being set up, you want to make sure they're on the same page on the accounting, which is maybe on the same page as the financial advisor. So being able to pick up the phone and being able to have a conversation around estate planning, taxes, and business entities and things like that. So again, hope you found this helpful. Any questions on franchising? If you wanted to dive a little bit deeper, you can go right to the website, ggthefranchiseguide.com. We'll post this episode. You'll have the audio as well as the YouTube video. You can also book a call directly with myself. I do all the calls and we can dive into if a franchise is a good fit. And sometimes it's not, and that's okay. But we figure out on that call, we have 25 FAQs, frequently asked questions for those not ready to have a call. We have a workshop that we dive into leaving your job, setting yourself up, creating that safety net with a franchise business, and a free download of the book, along with, as I mentioned, 200 plus. I think we're at 215 podcasts. Actually, the airing of this will probably be closer to 220. So we cover every topic. You just put in the topic or just look at the last 5 recent, but just about any topic. And if you don't see a topic, definitely let me know. Send me an email and I'll put the email here on the screen. And it's GG, my initials, at ggthefranchiseguide.com. If you want to be a guest on the show, if you can recommend a guest or even a topic you'd like for me to discuss, shoot me an email. Would love to, looking for ideas, looking for guests on future episodes. So I appreciate it. I appreciate all the feedback, all the comments. I read and respond to every single one of them. If you don't want to make a public comment online, shoot me an email, gg@ggthefranchiseguide. Book a call. I'll be more than glad to discuss it with you. If I do talk about a topic or conversation we've had, I keep everything confidential. But if I feel someone can benefit from one of those calls, I'll definitely create a show. So thanks again, guys. It's been a great 2024. 2025 looks even better. Get those maps created on Google Sheets or whatever the best method is. Review it daily, create those habits and put those habits directly on the calendar and really set yourself up for success. Thanks again for your support, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If you want to learn how to make the transition from corporate to owning your franchise, join Giuseppe on the next episode. You can also follow on all social media platforms and achieve financial and time freedom today.